Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hucker's Hideout. Today, we're back checking out Dune Awakening. This will be a guide to help you find all the resources you will need in Hagga Basin. We'll go through all the resources I can think of, from the ones you need to mine to the ones that need to be looted. If you'd like to try Dune Awakening for yourself, there'll be a link in the description below. Now, please sit back, relax, and enjoy as we get into another guide for Dune Awakening. And here we are with our first two basic resources. So as you can see in the background, we got plant fiber and some granite rock. And so plant fiber is pretty easy. You just press E and you can harvest it. And granite rock's a little differently. Once you have your cut array, you can scan the cut array. You can also just shoot it anywhere and it'll mine stuff. But if you scan it, it'll actually increase your yield. So I'd recommend scanning with the right click. And then you can see you grab all the resources. And so those are the first two basic resources. And I kind of pre-scouted out a little route here, but the other two basic resources are right here in the south of Hagga Basin as well. These resources are pretty common all over. They become a little bit less common the further north you go, just based on the further you go north, the less you kind of need it. But you can see these are the other two resources. So first off, we have here is salvaged metal. It comes in little clumps like this. You'll see the cut array symbol right there, and you can scan it just like the resources, or you can just do the side. I would scan it though, because you can see your yield is a lot higher. We actually are holding a bunch of stuff in our inventory right now, which is very nice. You need all these goodies. We just drop all this stuff. We don't really want it. But you can see you can also pick up salvage metal from the ground by just pressing E. And then there's also fuel cells, which these help power your base. And so you need fuel cells, and you need salvage metal, and you need granite and plant micro, or the little plants microfibers to start your journey. Basically, you can find fuel cells on the ground just like that. And yeah, those are kind of the basic starting resources you will need. Next off, we will go into more mined resources. And so we will just start right here, right next to where we are, because you can see we have a nice little node here. And so this is one of the first, not like granite, which is for building, but this one is for actual production. And so you can see here, it scans the same. It has this blue stuff, and it is copper. So copper, you can see. Good yield, good yield. We got a lot of copper. But yeah, copper is necessary for repairing your items and things like that. And so it's a very necessary resource, and it's found here in the south, as well as all over the north and in the deep desert, because you need it throughout the game. So now we will head further north. I'll show you on the map where we are. Right now we are in Hagga Basin South. And if you want to look in the left, you can see resource density. Those are the items that are in this area. And so if we keep going further north, the items kind of slightly change. And so we'll start heading north and going through those other mined resources. And with the beautiful moonrise in the background, I'll show you on the map where we are. We're in the Western Vermilius Gap. This is kind of just the region just north of the South Hagga Basin. It's, west of Vermilius Gap. Any of these little spots will have these, but this is our next little node I wanted to show you guys. These are iron ore. And so iron ore, you can kind of tell because it's silver like that, and it's usually in this region. It's also in the deep desert and a couple other places, but this is the best spot to find it. Same with the last one. You can pick it up off the ground, or you can scan it, miss it, or actually get the line and get a lot more resources. And so yeah, there's a fair amount of these scattered around. These you could also find plant fiber and salvage metal around these all the time. And so this is definitely a good second resource to go for. Once you move away from the basic stuff, now you are moving into the iron gear, and once you get to iron tier, it's very nice. And so yeah, that is the next resource you will need along your journey. Once you're satisfied that you have gotten all the iron ore you need, you will need a lot more than you think, I will say, because you head north across to the next little area, Jabal El Frit al Janub. And once you're over here, you'll run into these nodes. And these nodes are now carbon nodes. And so when you get carbon, you can see we mine it up, get some good efficiency, very nice, get a lot of carbon. Once you get carbon, you actually need to combine it with the iron ore you had to create steel. And so this is how you get the steel tier of gear. You need to mine carbon and iron. And so think about maybe placing your base when you're at this tier, kind of on this border somewhere. A lot of people place their base around here, which makes sense because you need both these resources. And so we will move on from getting this to our next resource. This next resource is a little out of the order of operations, maybe. I don't know. It's not really for building much, but it is kind of. I don't know. I think it's a very important ingredient in the puzzle. I think this is the one I went for next, and it was the hardest one for me to find. This is the let's pronounce it correctly, erythrite crystal. And so you use erythrite crystal in a lot of things. It's actually one of the more important components later as well that continues being important. So if you go into your crafting menu, you'll see in aluminum products or in steel products, because we're at that point, right? You need steel, particle capacitors, and this thing called cobalt paste. And so cobalt paste is actually what you make this ethereorite crystal. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at pronouncing it. Erythrite crystal. I call it airy. The airy crystal. We need a lot of this. And so to find the airy crystal, you actually need to head up here into the Hagga Rift area, which is a really cool biome. I really like it. It's got like depth to it and stuff. You can fly through it once you get an ornithopter, and driving is pretty fun up and down the levels. But the only place that this stuff really spawns is actually at these chome mineral extraction facilities. And so you'll see some of them scattered throughout the rift here. And so you'll want to go to these to mine up the mass amount of these crystals. These can also be found in the deep desert, but it's, they're hidden in caves and stuff. It's a little harder to find. But I would definitely, this is where I brought my buggy when I first built my buggy, and I would recommend getting loads of this stuff because you don't want to have to come back for more. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, there's usually 2 at the start of all these caves, and then there's some on the inside. But yeah, that is the erythrite crystal, the airy crystal. And yeah, we will move on to aluminum now because I think we have the steel products pretty figured out. And I thought I might as well show you all one more thing. So if you go deeper into these caves, you can actually find like kind of mass amounts of etherite crystal. And if you have friends, this is where I'd bring them because you guys can all team up and grab them. Right now, it's like I can only grab like 2 of these nodes, so it's not that great for me, but for groups, it'll be very beneficial. And yeah, now we'll move on to the next resource. This next resource will come in handy for a long time. This one is aluminum. You can kind of see it in the background here. It's kind of this brownish, silverish, blackish rock. I'm not sure. But you can see you can pick it up off the ground just like usual. You can scan it and get a lot of resources from it. And this stuff is actually very important because it comes into play for a lot of buildings as well as equipment and gear. But it kind of starts appearing on the ground level right around here, kind of right along this wall. And so it's right next to the pinnacle station, and this is actually an entrance up. You can drive up this if you have a buggy or bike, and you can mine a lot more up here. And so this is kind of the area that I would start mining aluminum at the beginning. I will show you another little sneaky spot though next. And this is kind of what I wanted to show you. So you can see we are actually just north, of the Western Vermilius Gap. So not even too deep into the desert, maybe where next to where you build your first base or something. And you can see on top of these pinnacle spires, there's actually a fair amount of resources. There's aluminum, you got copper, you got carbon over here, you got some granite. So don't be afraid of mining all of these resources, especially as a solo. You can't carry that much anyways in your ornithopter, and so you might as well just pick these up and make some quick fun trips. You can see there's a lot of resources scattered on top of all these, and so I would definitely recommend as a solo you go for this when you are at the aluminum mining stage and you get your first ornithopter, because this will save a lot of trips deeper if you built your base a little bit too far south or something. But yeah, that is my little tip. Now we will move on to how to create the aluminum ingots. And sorry for the outfit change, but as you can see, we are at our final resource here. This resource is called the jasmium crystals. And so you find it in these little hot pots here, and you can mine it just like you normally mine. And you get your jasmium crystals, and you can see that the reason I'm wearing this suit is because I'm actually in a irradiated zone, so you can kind of see your radiation level going up steadily. If I was to just wear my normal stuff, you can see the radiation level is significantly increased. So I would recommend wearing a radiation suit while farming. That's why this is kind of the final resource and the hardest one to mine, because it kind of takes up the most, I guess, pre-planning. You kind of have to pre-plan to find these. They're not located in every one of these. Some of them are empty, some of them are full. Some have 3, you know, it's all different. But you can see right now our radiation level is, you know, fine. We're not too worried at all. And we can come over here, and I would recommend using kind of the rim here, because you can see the irradiated zone is Sheol, and so Sheol is the only place you can find the jasmium crystals that I know of. And so if you know, let me know in the comments if there's a different spot, but I don't think so. But you can see this is irradiated, and the closer you kind of get to the middle, the more irradiated it kind of even looks. And so if you kind of stay on the edge, you won't get super bad radiation. And so the kind of you got to plan for that, like how close to the middle you want to mine. There's not a ton of these on each of these little rocky shores, but they are kind of lit up all cool. I really like the look of them. They're fun to mine, but they're hard to mine, and that you can't collect a lot of them. They're heavy, but it's definitely something you need, because it actually grants you the next tier of you know, items. And so we are at aluminum resources. We just grabbed our aluminum. Now you want to create aluminum products, which is kind of the final tier before you go to the deep desert, which is the plastanium products. And so these products, you know, they cost aluminum ingots, and aluminum ingots are made of a combination of aluminum and our jasmium crystals. And so if we keep that in mind, you know, we got to mine a lot of jasmium. So you might want to build a base, I don't know, somewhere around here. You can kind of build around this edge if you want, but it's definitely an interesting idea. That's something I'm playing with. But you know, that's kind of all of the mine resources we have down here in Hagga Basin. Next, we will move on to the more looted resources. For the looted resources, we're going to start with these orange caves. These orange caves are scattered all around the map. You can see they're in the bottom of the map. They're in the top of the map. They're all over the place, and so they definitely come into play. You're gonna need them all the time. They're mainly used for items that are used for water conservation. So you can see we pick up micro sandwich fabrics from these guys. Oh, I didn't notice. Oh gosh, there's enemies here. How dare you! Interlude. You can see there's other things to mine in these caves, but there's always usually a chest. And explosives are common. You can see that's a poison one. But this is where you find your EMF generators and your micro sandwich fabrics. And so this is kind of the only place to really find that type of item is in these orange caves. So keep that in mind when you are looting. Next, we are going to move on to something a little more complex. And now we're deep inside the Imperial Testing Station. Imperial Testing Stations look like this little blue science-looking icon. I think that's a, you know, microscope or something. But you can see inside these chests, you'll find advanced servos and particle capacitors. And so these are very handy for when you are crafting vehicles and, you know, kind of getting more and more advanced into that stuff, and you need more and more, you know, backup vehicles, because you're getting riskier and riskier. It always happens. But you can see you can get a fair amount of these just from one run inside. This is kind of the final room inside of this testing station. But there are a lot of testing stations scattered throughout the map. There's in the deep desert, they're everywhere. And so you can access them at any point to get these resources. And now we will move on to the wrecked ships. And we've made it to our wrecked ship. And so as you can see, these ones are signified by a little green icon, you know, on the map. There's a fair amount of them all over. You can see in the top, our zone is changing. So this goes from PvE to a PvP zone. So now if another player sees us landing here, he can come, or she can come, and try to, you know, fight us to the death, steal our goodie. And so we will kind of pop in here pretty quick. Whoop. Just a hideout. But you can see this is a, you know, it's a pretty big wreck. You can find goodies in here. This is where you find your plasteel microfiber. This is kind of for building, you know, your weapon parts, or that's for specifically building your garments. And if you want to build weapons, you can find weapon parts in here. You can find these little hatches off to the side, which are really fun. And they usually have, you know, ID badges to get deeper in, because the deeper you go into these, the better the loot, just like everywhere kind of. But, you know, it's definitely harder to find all the stuff. There's going to be more enemies, harder enemies. And the constant fear that players are coming. So you can see now we just found some mechanical parts. So these are used for creating firearms, different kinds of firearms sometimes. We were just going to run by all these guys because they're kind of low level for us. But we will head up into the front little pouch here. And so this is where you can really start running into issues with other players if they are around, because I don't think you can get out of this room unless you kill everyone, like all the NPCs. And so if you are not prepared for that, it can end badly. I'll put it that way. Attack me, you fool. Thank you. Very nice. But yeah, you can find even more goodies in here, some more weapons. See, now that we killed everyone, we can move deeper. Access has been granted, and we will. And so the further you move in, you will actually eventually run into one of these constellation chests, which these things are pretty sweet. They usually have engrams, and they have kind of the final one of the resources I want to speak about is spice infused kind of ingots. And so, they have iron, aluminum, duraluminum, all the different types. And usually it's in the specific, or constellation chest in a region that's, if it's further north, it'll have higher tier items. So like maybe one in the deep desert, will have some plastanium infused ingots. But we'll see. And yeah, that's kind of the main goal, is to get that chest, because that will have the best goodies in it. This other stuff definitely comes in handy. You'll need them to craft higher tier items all the time, but it's definitely spooky, and so I don't want to hang out here. I'm going to run away. Because you never know who's going to show up. Maybe it's going to be a whole squad, and a squad will beat me, I think. I'm just trying to live. But yeah, to get out of the PvP zone, you actually have to get like significantly far away. You'll see the zone will change for us now, and it takes 30 seconds to change. So people can chase you down and fight you and all that good stuff, which is really fun. But it's definitely scary if you're not prepared for it. And so yeah, I would recommend coming into these places prepared. All right, and next thing we're gonna move into is the actual looted resources that aren't at these, these specific areas, I guess. Before I got too far ahead of myself here, I wanted to point out that also in the shipwrecks out here in Sheol, where it's irradiated, you can find the irradiated slag, which is also a key component in future construction. So keep that in mind. If you need irradiated slag, it's specifically out here in the irradiated zone, which definitely makes sense. But yeah, I didn't want to move too far forward without letting you guys know that. Next off, we are going to move to showing you where the complex machinery is in these little, I don't know what you want to call them, like maybe warehouse icons, something like that. But yeah, there's several of these around, and I'll show you what I mean next. This is the location for complex machinery. You can see the Northwest Ironworks. There's a couple spots here, and there's a couple spots down here. This is kind of the easiest way to find complex machinery if you want like a consistent supply of it. You just go find through this door, and you'll see complex machinery, and you can get a fair amount of it. This is also one of the funner ones, because it's kind of like, a little, I don't know, puzzle solving or something. Like you gotta find your way around, but there's different little goodies hidden, scattered, and so make sure you hit them all, because you never know. There's gonna be one down here as well. Oh gosh, I'm always scared of this one. Are we gonna burn? Oh gosh, we're gonna burn. But yeah, that's kind of where you find complex machinery. You can find it in a couple other places like crashed ships and stuff like that. But if you want a consistent supply, these two locations here and here will be your best bet. There's also this one, but it's a little further away than the other ones, I guess, but it's a good one. But yeah, that's where you find complex machinery. And the next item on our list here is going to be the ray amplifier. So that is this one, and as you can see, it is used for cut arrays and kind of more intense mining specific items. And you can find these right here along the Hagga Rift, kind of where we're mining the erythrite crystals. You can find it here. This is one of them, the stairway. It has a bunch of ray amplifiers. You can see you can get 20 in a batch, which is like a great grab. There's more. That's that's just the beginning kind of the boxes in here. I hope, maybe not, maybe so. Oh gosh, there's more enemies, as always. More enemies. We'll put our shields on. But yeah, if you want to find a ray amplifier, this is definitely the best spot, I think, around. Or one of all of these little spots. You can definitely find a fair amount. There's also other items, like you can find spice and complex machinery if you need. Oh gosh, this guy's gonna leave. Stop it. Okay, everybody settle down, please. Thank you. I'm trying to talk to my friends. But yeah, if you want to find ray amplifiers, I would definitely come down here. And here we are at the next location. You can see it's actually up here in the north along the mountains, the Eastern Shield Wall. It's a Sentinel City, and in here you will find industrial pumps. It's kind of the only real spot I've found to, or that I have found that has these industrial pumps. You can see them right here. You don't get a ton at a time, but if you hit all of the chests up here, you can get a fair amount. And so I would recommend, coming here, every so often. The loot refreshes about every 45 minutes or so. And so, come here every hour and, try to grab some stuff if you can, if you remember. It also comes with the light caliber compressors and stuff like that you will also need later on. And so it's not just a total, loss or just going for one thing. There's other items as well. It's kind of nice that if you oh gosh, I got the penetrator. But if you stay up here, you can kind of fight people one at a time, not too hard, especially if you're lower level. You can single them on out and you can get into this room, and this room will actually have a fair amount of them, I guess, technically. Fair amount's kind of relative, but it's however much you think is a lot. But it also has some spice infused aluminum, and you'll need a lot of other kind of things. So this is another constellation chest that will give you more spice infused stuff. And so there's a couple other chests hidden around. I'm gonna go get them just because I'm here. But there's also this spice reactor, and you can get spice from there. As you can see, there's flamethrower guys here, so they're a little scary if you're not careful. Oh, why am I stuck? Let me out. Okay, this isn't nice. I literally can't get out. Okay. Oh, we made it. But yeah, if if you hit all these boxes, you'll get like 15 industrial pumps, maybe more, depending on your luck. But sometimes you're luckier than others. And you'll also grab all the other goodies that you need for future crafting kind of stuff. If you have a strong enough shield, you can kind of just roll through all the punches, as it were, and try to find all the chests. There we go, some 6 more. But yeah, that's where you will find your industrial pumps. There's 2 entrances. There's an entrance over here as well as an entrance over here, which I'm kind of running towards. So you can kind of run through it. It definitely allows for that. You can see now that like all the enemies are chasing me, but I'm not running backwards doing a loop, so I'm not really too concerned. This side actually doesn't really have too many of the chests, so I am just going to run through it because I'm not too worried. And you can see we took a little bit of damage. Nothing, a little heal kit. Oh gosh, okay, never mind. I'm trying to heal. How rude. This guy's throwing explosives. And why don't you just want to live? Like, I don't want to have to kill everyone. But yeah, we'll skedaddle out of this little spot, and we'll head to the next little point of interest that has another item that is how do I put it? It's hard to get if you don't know where to look. Now we're back closer to Sheol again. You can see we're kind of in the region, but we're not getting irradiated. So it's not too bad. But this zone is another PvP zone, so that's something to keep in mind. If we get closer, it'll be PvP. And this is called the Edge of the Asherhon. And this is where you find the military power regulators. And so these are pretty important later on when you are trying to craft like more advanced, omni compactors and more advanced cutter rays, things like that. You will need them. And so the way that I kind of go into this is I come into this side area because there's going to be enemies up here. Kind of do a loop-de-whoopity, see if there's any people, and grab your stuff. Oh, these are also important. Hydraulic pistons are also located here, which is also very nice. You can get your ID badge right up top here. Very easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I think there's one more chest. You can see the enemies don't even know we're here because we came in the back door. Just one more little cheeky chest. These military power regulators, they're in short supply. They're in high demand. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we are inside here. You can find aluminum spiced dust, which is great. A lot of moolah and a jolt knife. Look at that. Some more and more advanced stuff. And so it's definitely good to check that while you're here. But the main reason that we're here is to find these chests, because these chests are what holds the goods. The hydraulic pistons as well as some more regulators. And so we'll just look around now. Now we're pretty confident we found most of the chests. We don't see any people trying to kill us. That's something. If there's no NPCs, that means there might be real players around. So keep that in mind. Play vigilant. Play a little scared here. I like to keep my head on a swivel. Like, where did you come from, you sneaky little bugger? Well, you're done now. Later. Later. But yeah, that is where you find the power regulators, which are kind of hard to find. You can find pistons a couple other places, but this is the only spot to really find the power regulators. Oh gosh, how rude. Thought you were dead. But yeah, now we are going to move on. Maybe we will do the types of sand that are available. Or actually, you know what? I think it is time to move on to going into our little arena over here and looking at the diamond dust. And now we are here at the Worm Worshippers. This is kind of where you find the diamond dust. As you saw on the map earlier, it's just kind of located pretty close to our home base, which is kind of why I built there. But you can see diamond dust. There's also carbide scraps, some sand trout leathers, and still suit toothing. So you can find a lot of stuff for still suits, a lot of stuff for building. You need the diamond dust to kind of build really advanced vehicles like the carrier. If you're in a group, you're definitely going to want to, I think, build by one of these locations. So this is one of the locations that has diamond dust. The other location is on the other side of the map, and it is right here. The Hand of Kadir actually has diamond dust as well. I think this location has more diamond dust, but let me know in the comments if you know which one has more. But yeah, we will head into the back room, and I will show you how to kind of find the most diamond dust. First off, maybe we'll show you how to, I guess, survive this part, because you really only need this band from here. There's also some dust and carbide scraps in there you might as well grab, but you can see there's a fair amount of enemies, and if you ignore them, they kind of ignore you. Uh-oh, he saw me. But there's also random chests hidden throughout these kind of ruins. If you go digging, you'll find them. I believe there's one over here I'll show you, but they're usually defended by enemies. Not too tough of enemies, but there are more enemies. Sometimes it's always dangerous. Oh gosh, you got me. I thought I dodged. Whoa, okay. But yeah, there's a couple chests hidden around, scattered in the ruins. So look around if you want. Oh my gosh, there's one. See, I knew there was one here. It's running right towards it. And yeah, it'll have a fair amount of the diamond dust as well in it. I don't want to call it diamond just because it sounds too normal. It's diamond. And once you make it into the altar room, you'll have a couple enemies to dispatch. But once you're through with that, you can go into this wall over here, get a little bracelet, a little ID band, always helpful. And you can start heading over to this little wall, and you'll find another nice constellation chest for you, which as always has the engrams. This one actually has spice infused aluminum and carbide scraps, monies, all the kind of normal goodies, and hopefully some more diamond dust. You never know how much you're going to get from these adventures, so you might as well try to grab as much as you can. So you can see we have 21, which is not bad, but some carrier parts take like 20, so it's not a huge haul. But it is a haul. And then once you're done with that, you could actually head out the back door here, which is something I really like in this game, is that they put all these little sneaky trails in. So if if you notice things, you can build build near these exits and put your stuff right away. Someone was very smart and actually did build right here, which I thought was very clever. I don't know if they're still playing. It looks like their base is getting demolished, getting eaten. But it was funny to see someone build right there, because I was thinking about it. I was like, man, that'd be a good idea. Then you just run out and you're home. But yeah, now I think it is time to show you the different types of sand. And before we get to the sand, just I may have forgotten, but don't blame me. We are going to get some insulated fabric here, and so what I like to do is just hop down this little hole in the ground. You can see it has like a little barrier you can land on if you want. But there are usually some enemies in here. You can see I already dispatched them because I checked it out before I filmed. But yeah, you can see I knocked them down. There's only a couple, but in here you'll actually find a fair amount of insulated fabric. 20 is a great amount. You're gonna need some, and If you just keep running laps here, that's a great way to get some. And then you can just exit the same way you came in. Something to keep in mind though is to actually check kind of these little dark cubbies everywhere, because they will actually have additional chests hidden inside, and you will actually find more, because now we have 31, which is great. And they even have a decaliter John, which is that's expensive kind of to make, especially when you're first starting out. So I would definitely recommend checking out all these little hidey holes, seeing if there's any more little hidden things. That's why this game's great. The exploration stays alive throughout, no matter how long you've played or how high level your character is. You will always be searching. And so now it is time to go look for some sand. And this is going to be our first sand resource. You can kind of see a couple patches hidden throughout. They're this little white spot that's kind of smoking. This is known as flour sand, and this can be refined into silicone blocks at a chemical refinery at your home base. But basically what you want to do is you can see the worm is getting called right now, so we'll try to be quick. But you can harvest sand by hand. You can see it's like 1 every second or something. Not super fast, but once you get to the point where you can create static compactors like this, or you find one in the wild, you can actually use your power pack to collect sand like that. You can see the worm does not like it, but it makes up these big bulges, and when you grab these, that's a 92 sand. So that's it's 90 seconds or what, a minute and a half. So it's definitely worth doing it this way. And so flour sand is a crucial basic building block for a lot of things. So you're gonna need a excessive amount of flour sand. Don't worry if you don't get all that you need on the first go. You will be back for more because as you can see, the worm is coming. But this is one of my favorite locations for going for flour sand, because as you can see, we already flew by 3 patches and there's like 4 more. So kind of right here, this big open stretch, there are a lot of flour sand patches that you can gorge yourself upon, and yeah, enjoy. And so now we'll move on to the purple resource, which I don't want to spoil the surprise. And as we can see here, this is another resources that you can find here in Hagga Basin. You can find it all over. It just kind of bubbles up. As you can see, the bubbles are forming. You don't want to be too close, because if you are too close, you will actually get exploded in your ornithopter and in a vehicle or on foot. So kind of stay a little ways away. But this is spice sand, and spice sand is how you actually make spice melange, which is one of the most precious resources in the universe, in the Duneverse. But I think also water is the other very important one, but spice is definitely up there as the most important. And once you get higher tier, it's kind of the only one left you have to wait for. And so we'll wait for this spice to blow, and then we will show you how to mine it. And there we go, the spice has blown. So you see, once it blows, it creates this little purple spot on the ground. Anyone can see that explosion in the air. It makes a pretty big boom. You can kind of see it going up. But if you are near, and the closest one, you can use one of these omni static compactors, and you just shoot it at the ground. And you can see when you shoot it, it calls the worm. Our little worm bar in the bottom fills up a little bit. But if you shoot it, the worm will be called, and then you can take spice. And so that will take a whole clump of spice. You see we got 92. And if you don't have one of these, you can also just harvest spice by hand by doing it like this. But you can see it, only harvests one at a time. It's definitely slower. And so I would recommend getting a static compactor as soon as you can to harvest this stuff up. But yeah, this is one of the most precious resources in the Duneverse. And I think you gotta go for every one that you find and every one that you see. And so just keep that in mind. And we'll move on to the next resource. And so even in Hagga Basin, you'll get these crash ships, and sometimes they are good to loot. They all have kind of some unique resources, sometimes depending on which region you're in. Right now we're in kind of the far south, and you'll see when you look in there, you can get complex machinery in here. You can also get these ship manifests, and some calibrated servos, some Holtzman actuators, and some plasteel microfiber and mechanical parts. And so there are some unique resources that you kind of need to harvest from these ships. And so I'd recommend every time you see one fall from the sky to come up and make sure you grab them. You can see they have spice sand, they'll have this irradiated slag. The main issue is that you actually have to contend with the worms more than enemies or anything. So just keep that in mind. The worms will come for you, as they always do. Oh gosh. But yes, I would recommend definitely going for those. Use as little power as you can because that calls the worms quicker. And yeah, and there's a few compartments on there that you can get different resources from. And so when you find them, loot them, and you'll be happy you did. And as the sun rises, we'll look at our last resource here. This one is going to be the basalt stone. So as you can see, when you mine this, it is a black rock. Someone is sniping me. That's not very nice. But yeah, as you can see, it is a little black rock. It's usually located on this ridge of the eastern shield wall kind of thing. Up here, you'll find it kind of anywhere in different quantities, all hidden around. But the big thing with a basalt stone, the reason why it is so necessary is because when you are building, if you are building in the basic stuff, you use granite, but if you are building in a faction specific, like the Harkonnen Stronghold, you will need plastone. And plastone is created by combining this basalt stone with silicone bricks, which you make from the flower sand. And so it's kind of another little production chain that you can focus on that will help you progress into having a cool faction specific building. If you're into that, you can build something like I did, all murdered out and Harkonnen-y, or like my neighbors did, that's all Atreides, structure and order. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, I think I hit on all the resources. Let me know if I didn't in the comments. If you enjoyed, hit the like, and we'll see you all next time on the next great video. Have a good day.